Not like the stock market, that's something that you're betting on, or not like, music, hoping that it sells. That's kind of like see-through money to me until it's actually there and it becomes real money. But hard money, you can see what you're getting if you own some property. You can see that if you have a tenant in there, you just do the work and it works.
Right.
You put a tenant in there, they're gonna pay this much a month. You're gonna see that money each month.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard money. There's not a lot of ways to do that in this reality we live in, but there is ways. So you just have to figure out which way you want to go. And don't be scared. A lot of people think it's difficult and it's hard and they get scared and it's not. There's people that work with you. If you want to buy some property and you're not in the best place to do it at the time because financially or you don't have this much say to it, you can talk to somebody, a lender or something, and they'll tell you exactly, they'll put you on a plan. And I try to tell people it's not hard. They think it's hard for some reason.
Hey, my name is Tanisha from the Stone Mecca Experience, also known for Too Skilled to Fail. Today I have Stone Mecca. I'm going to read out his bio first because I'm not going to have him jump in without this proper introduction. I'm going to read his bio and we're going to get into it. I'm excited to have Stone Mecca on the show, a singer, songwriter, and self-taught musician who's shaped his sound by listening to legends like Sly Stone, B.B. King, Prince, and Earth, Wind, and Fire. Stone is a multi-instrumentalist and musician genius who has contributed to the soundtracks of iconic films like Django Unchained and The Man with the Iron Fist. He's worked with legendary artists like Wu-Tang, RZA, Kanye West, Ice Cube, and Snoop Dogg. In 2018, he dropped his first solo project, Alien Man, blending roots, rock, blues, and funk in a way that was completely his own. Now, his latest album, he's gone deeper, combining heavy drums, funk bass lines, and soulful melodies that really tell his story of his journey. Today, Stone Mecca and I will be talking about the multi-talented mindset. What up, Stone? Thank you so much. Give me that minute to read your bio. I took a minute and I was like, not just taking the information that you shared, but I was like, I'm going to dig deeper. I'm going to Google this man and I'm going to find out as much as I can about him. Because as we met a few months ago in person. I just watched how you moved in the environment that you were in. And I was like, I want to know this person. And this is just wholeheartedly who I am. I wanted to know who you were a little bit deeper. And so given this opportunity to do a podcast with you, I was like, let me research him a little bit more. I could talk to him before the podcast and interview a little bit, but I want to research and dig a little bit more. And I want him to share who he is. So again, Stone, thank you for being a part of this today. Again, talking about the multi-talented mindset, being somebody for you, you're a musician who's been in the game since you were a kid. What I read, 9 years old, music became something that you were doing. But then in your teens, you got kind of like broadened that out a little bit more, learned a little bit more instruments. So tell me a little bit about you, Stone.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate you. Yeah, the 9-year-old thing is actually when I started playing drums. I was always into music before that, just it captivated me. And, I would sit in front of the speaker and play stuff and hear it and dig real deep, hear all the different things happening in it. And I thought this was a normal thing. Everybody did that. And as I grew older, I realized it wasn't because I'm not, not a lot of people can hear all the stuff that's in the music or they even take the time to hear what's going on in there. But yeah, so I started like that. The 16-year-old, when I was 16, I bought my first guitar. And then I came home and just sat in the room, basically, taught myself. When you find your passion, nobody can, move you or stop you kind of thing. So I was just in there with people. I had a lot of friends that come over, want to do stuff, and I was just in my room, playing my guitar and learning. And I taught myself, so I really didn't learn from other people. I never wanted to sound like anybody else, so I didn't just learn riffs from people and stuff. I kind of just wanted to find my own way. That's how it started.
Was your background at home music? Was their parents into music? Or was just some parents playing music, or were they actually playing music?
They always played music. Like they love me. My family loves music anyway. But my father actually played saxophone. He messed around with the piano. We always had a piano in the house. And when I was little, he had a band, they would come through there and they would practice and jam. And so I would hear that, when I got good enough on the drums, when his drummer didn't make it or whatever, I can go in there and sit in and play the drums while they were practicing. But my father used he was a jack of all trades when it comes to a lot of different things, but he used his instruments to relieve a lot of things that were going on in life. So I kind of learned it in a different way. Like it was all from the ear kind of thing. And whatever he was going through, he would come home and I'll come home from school. I'll be home from school or whatever, and he'll come home after work, and he'd go into a dark little corner in the family room, barely any lights on, turn on some kind of music, and just close his eyes and play the sax. It was like relief, and I remember those times, and I always felt music the same way, like I use it to, relieve, not
Yeah.
just me, but for others. Well,
People, right? So and that's where it came from. I'm sure you had that therapy within yourself, and then now you're able to share that with other people. So much bottled up emotion and music and just artistry in general. I talk about that a lot on this show and with other people, just about their crafts and how you have these talents and gifts that are in you, burning in you. So you just got to let them out some way. So it's really cool when someone can actually express them outward into the world and share them with the world, for sure. If it wasn't for music with you, though, this is early on at 9 years old. I can't imagine. I don't remember having a memory that young of what I wanted to do when I grew up. It was just I wanted to do a little bit of everything, which is exactly what our topic is going to be about a little later on today. But I wanted to do a little bit of everything. I didn't have one passion in mind, one thing in mind. I didn't want to necessarily be a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that. I just wanted to do a little bit of everything that I could touch as a kid. If not for music, what would you have done?
I always used to like to build stuff. I'm good with my hands. I would take apart toys and make something else out of them and do all kind of stuff when I was little. I was very into that type thing. So I always thought I was going to grow up to be some kind of engineer, actually, electronic engineer or something. That was my whole thing about as far as a career went. That's what I saw, which is cool because it's funny to see my son. He's 15 right now, but I made sure him and my daughter knew how to fix stuff when they were little and all. But he's very interested in the sciences and wants to be some kind of engineer,
Mm-hmm.
even though he's been exposed to music and everything else. But because people call me to fix stuff.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's good. You always have something to fall back on. And again, too skilled to fail. Come on, bim, 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 bim. But too skilled to fail is definitely, again, this is why I wanted to start this, because of people like myself. Again, I'm not a musician. I grew up around it. I don't know. I shared probably a little. My father was a musician. My stepfather, he was a musician. So listening to him, he was a radio DJ. So turning on the radio and being able to listen to his voice on the radio, watching him work at the TV station. So behind cameras and things like that, my mind always went like, and I saw somebody. For me, I saw someone doing a bunch of different things. He was also an engineer. So he was an engineer. He worked for Stanford at Slack for a long time ago. For a long time, and so I got to see somebody who was doing a little bit of everything that he wanted to do. So that was awesome. So this is Stone. I mean, you're okay. You're from Inglewood, California. You say the West Coast, and now you're not in the West Coast, right? You're over on the other side, and kind of.
Oh, I'm in Texas right now. It's for a while in Dallas area, DFW. I've been here for a little while, but I don't think I'm gonna stay. I don't know where I'm going, but yeah, I might go somewhere else.
Right, the sky's the limit. As long as you have, is it Eleanor? Is
Oh,
that her name?
Eloise.
Eloise. There we go. As long as you have Eloise, there you go. You can take her
That's her
wherever.
right there.
That's her right here. Okay, so perfect. That names
Mhm.
your. That's awesome. You play multi. So I had said multi instrumental. And you play multiple things. Starting off with drums, going into playing the guitar, and then you have obviously keyboard experience and things like that, and you singing. And what was that? What was like the focus? You just love music in general, or did you plan to like be a bass guitar? Play the bass. Did you plan? Did you be part of a band? I say this because it says 2018 is when you started. You have your first single. So you had that experience of being in bands. Obviously, you saw your dad. But did you always envision being in music by yourself?
Actually, 2007, I put out my first album, and it was called First Contact, and that was me using all the skills I had to write, produce, and make these songs. It was more of a classic soul R&B type. uh, feeling album. And I invited other people in to sing on it as well. Because my main focus, I didn't grow up in a church or anything, so my focus wasn't on singing as much as playing when I was younger. So some things I knew the song needed that maybe I couldn't do, but I still wanted the song to have what it had. So I invited some other people in, and that album was a very successful album, being independent, I guess you could say, and the reach that it got. Um, the original root of me, like you're asking, is to be just an artist expressing who I am through my music, using whatever I need to do that. That's why the different instruments, it's all my thoughts. Every album that I've done and sung, usually I'm doing everything on it. I'm playing every instrument, singing everything. Might cause somebody to do some backgrounds or something like that. But to express myself fully and complete that painting and it be mine, truly me, is kind of like I had to do it with incorporating all these different elements that I do on my own. And then Alien Man was me going back to the source of me, being just my own solo artist, really experimenting with me doing me completely and seeing what reaction would come from it. Mm-hmm. That's what it really was, because, it was different. It's got, like you said, the rocked out bluesy. Nobody's doing that. Nobody was doing that kind of stuff. So when I got the reviews back and people coming saying how wonderful it was, and the breath of fresh air from great sources, Rolling Stone, Billboard, whatever, and other people, OK Player, that gave me a lot of, it inspired me to know that I can be me, do me completely, mm-hmm. and it will be accepted. That's who I truly am, and what you see in that album. But it even goes further than that, because whatever the song is needing or whatever I'm feeling, I'm gonna do.
Right.
Sometimes it's not rocked out. Sometimes it's just straight soulful. Sometimes it's this, but that's individuals. We all have different times where we feel different about whatever, and to express that musically, there's a sound for it. Mm-hmm. It's not gonna always be rocked out. You're not always feeling rocked out.
Right. No. There's different spaces. I always said there was different times where I would go to work being in HR and on my way to work. And some days I want to listen to somebody like Patti LaBelle. Some days I was listening to DMX on the way to work. It was just what I needed. And some days it was gospel. And depending on what I needed to get me going that morning, depending on how my night went, how I knew the day was about to go, if I had it pre-planned already, that's what my music, whether it be in my mind or on the radio or I was playing it, it definitely was different.
Whatever energy was needed. Right?
It was whatever energy was needed. Absolutely. I want to talk about, because one of the things I noticed about you in the hours that we got to spend in that environment that we were in when we met was you seemed very deeply rooted and connected to your spirituality. And this could be totally wrong. It's not a spiritual conversation, but to me, I know for me, that grounds me to kind of like sit with myself and my thoughts and to come up with stuff. Is that what also happens with you when you kind of get out there and create? Are you kind of sitting with yourself, meditating, manifesting things?
Definitely. I think, that's the root of life to me, in a sense. Like, you can't really function or do nothing without being grounded and connected to the source of, the energy beings that we are, and what that really means, that life force that we are. Because the rest of it is just whatever's happening in society. So, and I think when you're there, the universe will send you things to say. It'll come up in dreams. You wake up in the middle of the night and this full song is in your head. So you got to pick up your phone and record it, because it'll go away.
Write it down, get it down. I'm in the shower typically when it happens. It's like, shoot, I need to start getting crayons I can write on the shower wall or something like that.
Yeah. So you got to put it down. It's being delivered to you. It's being downloaded to you. And if you connect it in that way, you will get that download, mm-hmm. and then utilize it, And that is the source for me, because when I create music, I know the power of music. I know what music does for people. It moves people, how our souls need it. I know all that. I've seen it. I take it seriously. So when I sit down to create, if I'm working with somebody else, with myself, or whatever, I come from the truest place I can. Like, it's a feeling. Like if I want to say something, there's a feeling associated with what I'm saying. So if I can capture that in a sound, a chord, a melody, or whatever, to where that feeling is captured, that's where the song will start. And then I'll build upon it to make it where try to encapsulate all of it completely.
Does it wake you
And
up?
I've always been that way.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can't do it no other way. I know a lot of people just take stuff from other people and just hear something. I want to do it just like that. Do this song, this. I just was never that guy. I just can't. I don't know how to do
Yeah.
that.
You have, I mean, your cred goes on a little bit further. So you are a music director. And how did that come about? Music, I mean, being a music director, this is of someone's show. So again, I'm gonna just say I met you at a Red Man and Method Man show case, and I saw you working. You worked it's like every instrument. You heard the sounds. You were directing the music all together. How did you become a music director within your career path? How does that happen? How does one become a music
But
director? Like, I want you to control all, I mean, obviously you had to show all the musical skills and talents that you had to someone for them to say, I want you to be my music director.
most of the things that have come to me in my career that doesn't have to do with me doing my own music and solo stuff or whatever, has been it wasn't something I went after, I guess you can say. It was people noticing what I can do and wanting me to do it with them or help, be a part of whatever they had going on. So from the studio sessions and with Ice Cube, Badil, whatever, whoever, and back in the day, and to the Wu-Tang music director and the Wu-Tang, all of that, it just kind of did like this from what people saw I can do. Kind of. Me and RZA started doing shows together back in 2000, like maybe six, somewhere around there. And at that time, he was still doing he was doing his solo stuff with just the DJ or whatever. And Wu-Tang would use just a DJ. And I knew how to do a hip hop show with a band and still make it work. Because not every band can just do hip hop. Because hip hop still needs to sound like the album. You can't deviate from that.
Right.
And I was able to come in and make it sound like the album, but then make it bigger. And then give them control over, so they can be rock stars, kind of how the band is doing. When they're on the show, they can break it down. They can so they can be more creative. And when RZA saw that with me, and we started doing that, we actually did a Bobby Digital Stone Mecca tour. We had the buses and everything. We went all around, and we would go out and do that First Contact album. The band I had, we would do that, 45-hour set before RZA even came out. And one thing about anybody that's been to a Wu-Tang concert, you know that the fans are like a cult following. They don't want to hear nothing else but Wu-Tang. And I don't even care if you have a name. I've seen that where name people will open up for them and they sitting there, Wu-Tang. They don't care. Yep. So for us to come out with original music and open the show and them looking at us like this when we get up there, a few people knew who we were because I had this stuff with RZA, and people that really dig deep, they can see that. But them standing there like that, and then we get going, and by the second song, they like this and with us,
right?
And we, that's just knowing how to do a show. Right. And then once we finish our set, we will play behind RZA for his whole set, and the power and the control, and he loved it. You know what I mean? He loved it, and me and him would talk, and we always wanted Wu-Tang to know what that felt like. So when they did the Wu shows, because they were more like, nah, we just need this hip hop. We just need a DJ. We don't need no band. Because their experiences with band where, with bands were just, bands can't just go in and play hip hop. Like I said, you got to know how to do it. So, and I think there was some kind of ban from on them from Live Nation for a lot of years, so Wu-Tang couldn't tour like they wanted to. But when that was being lifted last year, RZA incorporated the band and wanted me to come in and music direct, because he knew it'd be right and we could win these dudes over or whatever. So when that happened and they came in, they were like, oh, so now they all started like, yeah, we got to do this with the band. You know, it became where they understood now. Because when they take the band out and they would just play the DJ at them shows and stuff, the crowd would die down. It would feel different. And they felt that power and that control. So that's how the music directing, I mean, I've done it before, but as far as Wu-Tang goes, that's how it kind of unfolded. And then the Method Man and Red just came off of Red coming down and doing some shows with Wu-Tang and seeing what I was doing and seeing the power. And then them hitting me when it was time to do Method Man and Red shows saying, we want to use the band, let's do that, you know. So it kind of, like I said, it unfolded into what it is. But that's just all a part of what you said about skills. You do your work, you learn your skills, and you get to where you stand out in that way, where you're needed. Absolutely. And then things will just do what it's supposed to do. There's no shortcuts for that.
No, there isn't. There isn't. We all have options to kind of stand out or just stay where we're at. And some of us shine a little bit brighter than the others. And that's you know, that shows in the industry, in any industry, whether it's music industry or it's a professional setting, corporate setting that I've been in. I've seen the rock stars in corporate settings as well. They've just gone in there and shined because they did the work, they put in the work to get to learn their craft, and then some. And they're also not just doing the basics, right? You come in the job or you do the music. If you're just coming in, you're just drumming. You're like, I'm gonna drum, and I'm not gonna just drum. I'm gonna drum. I'm gonna play. You know, if this is all I got, if this is the only thing that they give me a moment to shine, I'm going to make it really count. And you can see that again through corporate and the music industry. Our topic today is multi-talented mindset. One of the things, I actually brought my favorite book in this, and I'll share it. It is The Mindset by Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck, this book, I have followed her for many years, and mindset really is called, it talks about the fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And for me, this has a lot to do with the type of personality. I was trying to get to learn why some person would say, Tanisha, if you really want to master something, just focus on one thing. I don't know if you've ever heard that in your career, but in my life, I've heard just focus on one thing. I was a mother. I was going to school. I was in college. I was a cheer coach. I was doing so much at one time. I was trying to do music and, you know, dance and all types of things at one time. And people said, if you really want to master it, just focus on one thing. But I struggled with that. I struggled so hard with that. I was like, no, some people, and fixed versus, you know, growth mindset. My mindset was always like, I want to focus. Yes, each and every time I'm focused on just maybe it's, you know, my education. That's that time. There's a time for that. And if there was a time, there's a time for my children. There's a time for me personally as well to actually get to know myself. But I was always trying to do something else. And to me, that has been what has been the catalyst for what I define as my success. Because I put work into each and every area, but I didn't focus on just one. I think if I focused on one, I probably would have shut down. I'd have been like, oh, I'm bored. I can't do this. I'm doing. I can't do this. So the multi-talented mindset, what is, in general, this is, you know, what does this mean for you? Because I see you as a multi-talented person. What does that mindset look like to you?
I think when you're that person, like you said, it's hard not to be. As far as, yeah, people have told me, you know, focus on one thing, all that kind of stuff, you know. And I think that that's good. You can do that and still be a multi-talented mindset person, I think, because like you said, when it's time for that, you're completely focused on it, you know, and then when it's time to rest from that, you might go over here and do something else. And you know, and it kind of opens you up to a lot of different things, but you do see where your strengths are. You see what is stronger and what, you know, what maybe you like the most or whatever like that. But you get to find that out. Because I think if you focus on one thing, you might not really like that one thing after a while, you know, right. But you can put all this time and effort into it. And now you got to go find something else to do, or, you know, you're not so into it no more or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot out there, and I think we've been given the spirituality side of it. I think we've been given tools to use in this world. And if you understand that and you don't make yourself the tool, you'll understand how to maneuver. Because yeah, I play instruments. I'm a musician. I music director, whatever. Those are tools that were given to me, but they don't define me. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you know, and that's hard to hear for a lot of people that do music because that's what they, oh, music is my life, music, I'm just mute, and they think like that, even with their instruments or whatever like that. And no, life is a lot grander than just that,
Mm-hmm.
so you gotta know where to hold that space.
I think that for me, it took me digging into. So for someone, and that it could be in a fixed mind space. This is what the book is about. It talks about fixed mind spaces and again growth. But in the fixed mind space, if this is what I am. This is my talent. This is my God given talent of what I'm doing. There's more to all of us, like you said. But I think it takes digging. You have to dig. You have to, like I said, manifest, meditate. You have to be with yourself and be okay, but be alone with your thoughts. Being alone with my thoughts were scary at some point in my life and in my career. And I remember I was with a therapist, and she said, "Do you ever just spend time by yourself? Do you ever just get moments alone with just you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I go to the nail shop. I'm in, I'm in college, so that's just for me." And she said, "No, no, no, no." She said, "Just you." The silence, just you. And I was like, ooh, that's scary. I don't know if I want to do that. Because now you have to get to know, like, dig deeper into who you are. Do I like myself? Without any other distraction, am I a good person? Do I like being around in my own company? And at first I didn't. No. I didn't like my personal
Most
company.
people don't.
I didn't like her at all. And I felt she needed a lot of work. This is growing up, getting over childhood traumas and just a mindset where you are, kind of, again, my mother was very fixed on things, fixated on how life should be for a woman, a black woman. And I was definitely against all that. I was like, no, I can be a leader. I can be a director. I can sit at that seat at the table. I can sit at the head of the table, and I'm gonna get there. And she was like, she'll never learn. Let her find out on her own. And guess what? I have made it to those tables. I've held that seat and held my position really well, because I was definitely determined. I mean that, and of course, if someone tells you can't do it, someone like me, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Definitely gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
One so
Yeah.
we talk about, so people with the mindset are they're limited to like a single area, with a kind of like a non-growth mindset. Just they're singled out and like, this is what I'm doing. With you, you are doing right now music directing, doing all the music at home. What is something else, your outlet or an outreach outside of what you're normally doing to dig deeper into yourself? What do you do? What are some techniques that you do?
One of the things is what you just mentioned is really just a lot of people can't, like you just said, just sit in solitude with themselves, not go crazy. It's like, I mean, they haven't faced themselves in that way. So one of the things I do is that type of thing, meditation, and sit and be okay and understand that the stillness and the no thoughts is, how healing that is. And so I go out. I like to go fishing. So one thing I do is I go to these lakes around here sometimes just to be out and seeing the natural things that were given to us. That if you fall in love with the sky, the trees, the leaves, the things that are naturally ours, that are naturally here, that are never going anywhere, that's a romance that lasts forever, right?
Absolutely.
So so if you can figure and take time to do that for yourself, like when we were little, when you were little, those things were new to you, so you were amazed by all these things. We get caught up in society and the things that are going around, so we get sucked into those places. And you realize when you get older that the root where we were is what actually matters. So no matter what's going on in your life, you'll always have that love affair. You know what I mean? If you can do that, these things bring you to uh, uh, another place of even dealing with all the things you got to deal with in society. You know how to separate that from your source. So there's a lot of healing. There's a lot of therapy, in that itself. So I do a lot of that. I love my children, so I talk to them, spend time with them, make sure that I give them the knowledge and things that I have about life and what I've seen, mm-hmm. to make sure their eyes are open, or they can see things coming before they have to deal with it sometimes and stuff. Because in the era we grew up with, it was like, no, this is a grown-up thing. Kids don't. So we weren't told a lot, mm-hmm. But I don't believe in that. Yeah, it's really just staying connected to that source can get you through all of the things that you're dealing with in this world, no matter what it is, from relationships to job stuff to whatever. If you can have that time and space within yourself, it will make it a lot easier. It's not that you're not going to have to deal with it, but it will make it where you can handle it, and it's a lot easier.
Absolutely. With multi-talented, you're, again, musician, songwriter, everything you have. How do you integrate the different skills? Music is the one thing you do, and I'm sure there's other things that you do outside of this. To me, you could be the speaker. You could be a mentor. I don't know if you do any of that on the side, but I feel that energy of that mentor, that speaker, and maybe it's in the cards for you. Either way, how do you balance and integrate different skills to make that work in the world? And I'll talk a little bit about mine. So for me, I'm in HR. I definitely have this other side of me. I love in fashion and music. I also do designing, so decor, totally different. So I just have all these different spaces that I'm in that I absolutely love and adore, that I forgot about as a 16-year-old mom. And so being a mom at 16 years old, and I really was at 15 when I got pregnant with her, I forgot about who Tanisha was wanting to be. All the dreams, all the desires I wanted to do, again, fashion and decorating. I was a kid trying to decorate stuff with my mom's doilies. But I forgot about that stuff until I got older and became an adult, and I was like, wow, I really did like fashion. I really did like music. I really did like entertaining. I really did like hosting and speaking and things like that. I left it all alone. And so when I got into HR, it was a means to make money. I learned to love it, but it was a means to make money. And so how do you balance and integrate the different skills that you have in order to actually be able to do everything you want to do? I mean, I'll say, if you're here, you're a music director over here, and you're having to do your own music over here, those are two different to me. It's music, but it's two different mindsets you have to be in my mind. Please share, though, with your thoughts on that.
Like you said, some things you do because you need the income to be in the society or whatever. Hopefully it's something that you're okay with doing, to find that or whatever. But I realized and listened to things at a young age, and I made decisions based off of that. Like when I realized I was in the music thing and I saw that money was sporadic, it's not going to always be there. You got to wait for this. I saw people go on tour that had been touring for years, and I was really young, and I saw them come home waiting for their next tour because they can't pay their rent and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I kind of got the idea early that music ain't gonna pay for everything for me. So, and I really didn't want the love that I have for music to be clouded by trying to make some kind of money from it. So the music that I do that's my own individual music is because I love doing music and I have to express myself. I'm not doing that expecting this big money thing from it because I already know how the industry is and I'm different from everybody else or whatever. The other stuff I do with the music directing and all that, like I said, was really it's income, and I love what I do, so I don't mind it. I found out early on about music and getting the money from it and all this. So I actually did something that a lot of people my age didn't do at the time. I was on the tour, I was with the Far Side then, and I was music directing, and and this when I think I was 26. I don't know, somewhere around there.
Hmm.
I come back from the tour, you know, you got to figure out where you living then because, you know, you were gone and you got to pay rent, but you didn't make enough to pay the rent. And you don't have a regular job. So you got, you know, so I was like, well, let me figure this out. So I actually went and got into real estate. I bought some property. And the way I did it was I actually rented out some of it and that paid the mortgage.
Smart.
I actually had a place to live for free. So it gave me more time to focus on my music. So when I found that out, I started doing a little bit more of that, this and this and that. And a lot of my livelihood came from that rather than music.
Hmm.
You have to just maneuver in a way that's beneficial for you. And a lot of times people don't listen because when even back then when I was telling people my age and other people that were around that these programs were there, you should do what I'm doing, it'll help you out and all this. None of them listened. None of them listened. And to this day, now they come out, man, I wish I would have done what you did back then. Because they all their lives they were struggling, just trying to, you know, just pay to live, you know. You know.
Right.
So you gotta be a little bit more understanding of where you at and how you have to maneuver to live how you feel like you want to live.
Right. It sounds like
So
you got out of
like
your way. You sound we all
yeah, you
about
know,
getting out of your
and
way.
then
We have the thoughts in our mind that might hold us back, but it sounds like you had to constantly keep on. You constantly did get out your own way and try something new. Let me try it. It's it can't hurt to try it. And I see
oh
a
man, I've been a lot
lot.
of different things.
Yeah. See,
And
my
then
friends don't do
I
it.
learned I learned to because I told you I was always good with my hands. So when I lived in the Bay Area, before even all of that, I became an apprentice to a guy that had his own construction company,
Mm.
general contracting and all of that. So I learned how to build a house and was making money and was my own boss for that. Actually, I was for property management companies. They would call me if something went wrong and I had to go and fix stuff, and they would give me a check for that. And it was I was writing it out. This is the invoice for it. I was my own company
Mm-hmm.
when it came to that. And me having that experience with, you know, building and all of that was easy when I got my place because I took care of it. I repaired things because I did everything back then. Generally, I did plumbing, electrical, I did all of it.
Yeah.
So you just got to think and go for what really works for you and understand why you're doing it and what you need it for. And not be lazy and not think it's gonna be the quick dollar and all of this kind of stuff. And it's not always about, you know, just going to get going to school. You know, to me, that's cool, but at the same time, a lot of people that go to school and pay all that money and get their degree and all this, they come out and they end up not even working in the field that they did all of that for. And they're looking for a job.
Right. Because we're
They're actually looking for a job with that degree. So
right.
you haven't progressed yourself really in that sense.
Right.
But all the things I've done was without all of that. You know, when I came out of high school, you know, school wasn't never something I really enjoyed as far as that goes. So I was probably going to go to a tech school or something, but I went to a junior college for a little while. You know what I mean? Probably got a little bit into there. And I knew I could, if I applied myself, I could have got all of the degrees and all, but I started finding my own way, and not going to school never stopped that for me.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I just think people need to really dig and find ways. That's all. It's not doesn't have to always be illegal. You know what I mean?
Growing up for me, it was I mean, and it's like that standard. You go to high school, you go to college, you get a job, you work that job until you retire. There is so much in between that my parents didn't tell me about. That's not how it
Exactly.
works.
That's the same thing I was telling you earlier when I
Right.
said,
That's not how this works.
yeah, they don't tell you the full story.
They didn't.
They tell you the story that they've been fed, you
Right.
know,
And which is
and
what
that's
I refuse to
understandable. I
tell just
remember
my kids
there was a
this.
different era. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It was a different era, and I understand that. But like I said, I will never do that to my children. I'm gonna make sure they know exactly everything that I know, have all that knowledge, so they can go know what they're headed into. You know,
Right.
help
Right.
them along the way. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, if I can give my kids the tools, and I'm hoping they do have them, if I can give my kids the tools, and I said this to myself, if I can give them the tools to launch their own careers and do what they want to do, I'm going to do that. So I didn't force or impose on my kids. I had the idea like go to college or go to trade school or go do something. Learn a trade. I don't care what it is, whether it's pottery. Whatever it was, do that and do it wholeheartedly. Put your mind, body, soul in it, get it done. And if you decide you want to switch at some point, you can do that. I typically would go, I used to go to the colleges. I've been to Stanford and spoke. I've been to Santa Clara University, San Jose State, and spoke to like, first gen college students about continuing education and things like that. And one of the things like I didn't want to say too loudly because I didn't want somebody's parent to be in a room like, don't tell my kid. I'd be like, if you start this journey, and it's not for you, don't be afraid to switch it up. Don't be afraid to try something else. They kept calling me back, so therefore I didn't do, I didn't scare anybody away. And some parent didn't say, "Don't tell my kid not to go to college." It wasn't not to go to college. It's do stuff that you are passionate about because that's going to keep you going. That's going to help you. That conversation you had earlier about your spirituality and digging in deep, so you can be able to like recover quicker. I'm summarizing what you were saying, and you have those things in your mind because if I'm in a job that I totally don't want to be in, I'm just in it because I need to make money, but I'm hating it and I'm not loving nothing about it. It's gonna be harder for me to kind of like recover and get my mind right. Having to go in that job every day come Sunday night, or afternoon, my anxiety is already starting to build up because I'm not even wanting to go to this job. I don't have happiness in what I
Right.
want to do.
No, I know exactly. And we both seen that from
Right?
most people.
Yeah. Yes.
So I
Yes.
mean,
Um,
if you know how society is set up, The Matrix was a good movie. Thank you for that black woman that made that movie.
that
I
was
know a lot of people don't know that, but the whole Matrix trilogy and the Terminator movies and all that was actually written by a black woman, and they stole it and said they did it, but she won the suit
they gave her.
because she actually wrote all of that, and it all connects.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying to say that you kind of got to look at society for what it is and how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can stand on the outside. When I'm with my son, I show him a building in a strip mall. I break down the whole thing about the strip mall and how the land is on and how it was bought. And that's just somebody renting this to start him trying a business. This, and that. This is a franchise. I'm showing him the whole outside looking in and why we also fed this whole thing about how they need us to be because they need workers.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that are on the outside doing these things, their lives are totally different than the people that are just the workers.
Right.
You really need to look at that. I saw that at a young age. My father was the type that wore the suit every day, got up at 4 a.m, corporate, you know what I mean? And I saw what he was doing. And I was like, yeah. And then he finally understood that years later because he hit that ceiling and it messed him up, broke his heart because he put a lot into it.
Yeah.
I saw that years later. I knew I didn't want to get involved with that type thing where my livelihood was dependent on some other entity in a sense. Let me find another way for myself.
Right.
So, like I said, I teach that to my kids. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100% on that. My daughter, she graduated from Howard. She got a master's degree in architectural engineering. But even with that, she's still trying to find that job that she wants that would match all that work she did. So you kind of got to make your own way if you want something truly guaranteed.
I remember one thing my mother used to always say. One thing no one can ever take away from you is your education. So no matter what, and that was a good thing too. I had somebody saying, "I did all this school, I spent all this money, I had this huge bill," but I did too. I had two student loans still pending out there. Anybody wants to pay for that student loan? I got it for you. I got two student loans, but I took what she said wholeheartedly because she did say that one thing no one can ever take from you is your education. So all the things you learn, everything you have in you, that's something no one can take from you. So learn constantly. And so with that, this is why I do one of my series for teaching first-gen college students is the continuing education. So this is beyond college. This is beyond education from primal school to junior high school, college, and beyond, and continuing that education. Keeping your mind going and keeping your mind open to learning, new things and possibilities. That is just, I mean, with technology, we're going to have to keep up with it or it's going to definitely leave us behind. And I've learned that. I remember being a kid where my mother didn't know how to work the VCR, but we did. And then the next generations go on. And I remember having to ask my son to actually connect, something I was working on. I had him connect HDMI cord with this, with that. And I remember I said, and I was having him do it. And he knew it. He was like, all you got to do is this. And I remember I told myself, ooh, I remember when my mother didn't want to learn the new technology or how to, fix the Nintendo and make sure our Nintendo worked. We had to figure that out because my mom was like, I don't know, that's too much. I bought it, you figure it out. But I told myself not to do that. I told me, nope, get back in there. As soon as that happened, I was like, no, you need to learn this stuff. You need to figure it out. You need to keep it going as long as you can. I'm gonna ride it out. All right. You touched on it a little bit, but the last thing I definitely wanted to make sure we talked about is monetizing the talented, you know, mindset, or just how do you monetize it? You touched on making money. You understood that making money wasn't going to be just in one avenue, just making money in all other avenues. With social media and other ways to make money, like what are some tips that you can give for somebody trying to monetize a multi-talented mindset? I would love it personally because again, I have the HR going, I have the HR business, I have the makeup going, and I put myself out there with the makeup. So I try to make money off that any way I can. What do you have to say about harnessing and monetizing diverse talents?
As far as where things are right now, I know people have figured out that formula that are on the internet that do social media and marketing and all of these kind of things. I'm not one of those. I'm not, I haven't dove into that to that degree because it's not something I'm passionate about, first of all, but then it takes away from my creative side. I'd rather have someone else that knows how to do that, and you do that for me with the stuff I'm creating. You know what I mean?
Monetize, but there you go.
But as
That's a
far
great
as
answer. That's a way to monetize.
what
How do you
it
monetize?
is, because you find somebody that actually knows what they do.
Bingo.
The other thing is, I look at it as you have hard money and then you have translucent money. You're like, and for me, hard money is still doing some of the things that, is part of what this country has made in this reality that we live in, that is like, buying property, are doing something like that. That's hard, but it's what you touch, you can see it, you know what the outcome is. Not like the stock market, that's something that you're betting on, or not like, music, hoping that it sells.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Or you get something from it. That's kind of like see-through money to me until it's actually there and it becomes real money.
Mm-hmm.
But hard money, you can see what you're getting if you own some property. You can see that if you have a tenant in there, you just do the work and it works.
Right.
You put a tenant in there, they're going to pay this much a month. You're going to see that money each month.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard money. There's not a lot of ways to do that in this reality we live in, but there is ways. So you just have to figure out which way you want to go. And don't be scared. A lot of people think it's difficult and it's hard and they get scared and, and all. It's not. There's people to work with you. If you want to buy some property and you're not in the best place to do it at the time because financially, or you don't have this much saved, or you can talk to somebody, a lender or something, and they'll tell you exactly, they'll put you on a plan. Mm-hmm. They'll tell you exactly what to do to get to that place.
Absolutely.
So now you're working towards it with a timeline. Then when you reach it, you can go do these things.
Absolutely.
But people are scared and think they can't do things a lot of times. Just the same thing with people that don't travel or going anywhere besides where they know.
Story of my life. Some of my friends' life don't travel.
Not just yours.
Yeah.
And I try to tell people it's not hard. They think it's hard for some reason. But it's not hard. You just got to say you're going to do it, save the money and go do it. So you got people that do and you got people that don't. Yeah, that's what I say. You got people that are out there that do things and people that talk and don't ever do nothing.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people.
So you can't.
About
you
travel.
can't make people.
I would love for you to see this.
Right. You can't make people into that. So all you can do is just kind of inspire by the way you move. And if they need some information, let them know.
Right.
And if they want to do it, they can do it. But yeah, like I said, the whole thing with money is you got hard money, you got translucent money, you got see-through money.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to decide what's going to work for you, you know.
Absolutely.
Um, I made hard money decisions when I was younger. That has helped me throughout my whole life because you can see that, you can touch it, you can feel it. You're in charge of that. You can make it be what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have just lived off of the dream of one day music is going to bring me a bunch of money and all this,
Right.
I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't have been able to have the life I've had so far, to tell you the truth.
Absolutely.
Music is not, especially now, music is not bringing people enough money to survive. They're not able to pay their bills and stuff because Spotify and companies like that has messed up the whole industry in that sense because they are over glamified DJs pretty much. They take our music, they play it, and they barely pay us anything for it. It's like something, a percentage of a penny
Right.
for any stream. And I had to learn this when I put out the Alien Man album. I'm just gonna say this for education. When I put out the Alien Man album, I had a crazy amount of streams within the first month. It was like 50,000 streams or something like that. So I'm thinking like, oh, cool. I got a check for $130.
Right. What a rap.
So, and the audience doesn't know this because the audience is just doing what is offered to them. But when I tell the audiences, I tell them on stage and everything, they like in shock and they feel bad actually because they thinking they're supporting their artists and all this. If you look at it from this point of view, if I would have put out that album before all the Spotify stuff and people wanted to hear the song, if it was just one song, they would have paid 99 cents to hear that song. That would have been $50,000 compared to $130. And if they would have bought the album, say like for cheap, $10 an album, that would have been $500,000. This is the difference that's been happening now in the music industry that people don't understand.
Film, music, it's happening. It's happening. And
Yeah. So if your hopes is that right now, your hopes are you're going to be let down. So the only people that are actually seeing some kind of money, not even the major artists, Snoop was complaining about it. He said all these streams and I only got this much. So he knows, they all know, but the only thing that keeps them afloat is they already known and they have a following, so they can go out and do shows. That's why a lot of people do shows and stuff like that now, because that's the only way they're going to actually make money from their shows and their merch and stuff like that. As far as selling records anymore, people are struggling. Like they can't make enough to live off.
Right. Absolutely. So
So
the passion definitely has to be there to get you to even to continue to do it. Because other than that, you say, forget it. I'm gonna go do something else. I'm gonna go back to real estate. I'm gonna go back to working in construction because I know the hard money's gonna be there. I'm actually have some money in here. It's one thing to have the fame and the clout and everything, the notoriety. That is great, but it has to make sense and make you money. For us to be able to survive.
right,
I mean, yeah, like you talked about it. Money is not all, but if you putting in the work and if somebody's getting paid, you should be the one getting, and you're the talent, you should be getting the most out of it. And that's my stance on it. So
that's
I
the truth.
support
I
you. If you got a
mean,
picket line, I'll be on there. I'll be on there to
I'm
support
sure a lot of people would if they knew, because they've been in court. I mean, they've had him in court. No, they're trying to get it, but there were no laws in place when this happened. So it's kind of, you know what I mean? And
Right.
it's just sad that someone would take advantage of people like that and try to act like they don't understand why it's a problem.
Right.
He's already got billions of dollars from this.
There's a
And
matrix. Somebody's keeping tab. They understand where it's going. You can see the difference.
yeah, so
Understandably. I'm loving our discussion. I'm hoping as we continue to talk about our people being too skilled and our different the mindsets and things like that. I want to continue to work with people like you and anyone else so we can just basically educate other people on, music industry, whatever it is, your passions, finding your center, all these things that we talked about today. And I'd love for you to be a part of anything I do. So I want to thank you for
yeah.
kind of do this. Any last remarks that you'd like to share with this platform?
I think we've touched on a lot of it. It's really for me, it's just I want people, just like for myself, I want people to be happy. And what I've realized, and I'm noticing with a lot of people, a lot of people are just not happy. You know what I mean, in life, because they're dealing with a lot. If you can do some of the things we talked about earlier, where you can find your love within yourself, not outwardly, um, utilize the natural things that have been given to us to fall in love with, know your worth in the sense of your heart and your well-being, the person that you are without everything else, without any material things and without things you're reaching for and all that. Understand that that's going to matter the most in the long run. Um, and as you build, understand why you're doing it. Understanding you're just trying to, for the society we live in, you understand that's a part of it. But don't make that who you are. The main message
Yeah.
that I
Oh
would like for
no.
people to.
I love it. And I'm sitting there, I'm just engaged because I'm listening. I breathe this. We hear, you hear a speaker, you hear someone talk, and you hear something before. Are these words you're saying, these are your words and you're saying for the first time here? Are these words we've never heard of before? No, but it's something about how you're speaking it out and how you're expressing it that gets me engaged. And I'm hoping that gets everyone else engaged and just a reminder to all of us to kind of tap into ourselves, figure out ourselves, love ourselves, figure out, like we talked about earlier, do we like ourselves? Do we love ourselves? Let's figure that out. And how can we do that? We all come here by ourselves in this world and we leave in this world by ourselves, but we put so many people and distractions in our mind as if they were a part of our making to begin with, that it distracts us, right? And so that's really that's the heart and soul of what I want to get to with this show. And so I'm glad you were able to impart on everyone listening, anyone and everyone listening, and hopefully someone wants to listen more than once just to make sure they remember it and maybe they listen back another time to see this. But I want to make sure everyone knows where to find you. I have you at Stone Mecca music.com, but I have you at Stone Mecca. Anywhere you go, and I looked that up yesterday, anywhere you want to, any platform you want to find him on, you can find Stone on at Stone Mecca, or Stone Mecca Music. And if there's any other ways that you want people to look out for you, do you have any shows or any gigs coming up that people could show up to in your hometown right now?
They've been trying to get me back out there on my solo stuff, so I'm about to line some stuff up, but I haven't done it yet because I've been doing a lot of the stuff with, you know, the whole the music directing. But we're finished for this year, I believe. So I'm gonna go on and line some things up out here, and I'm working on new music. So I mean, I got a few albums done now, so I just got to figure out what songs and release something, and then go from there. But
Absolutely. Well, you keep me
yeah,
posted. I'm one of the people, I travel the world. I travel on a heartbeat, on a dime, whatever it is. So let me know when you have something coming on. And if you come back to Las Vegas, I'm definitely here so we can connect again in a one-on-one full space. Maybe you can come to the studio. We can do it
oh
here.
yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am. I
All
appreciate it.
right. Thank you. Thank you for watching the T Smith Experience, Too Skilled to Fail, with our one and only Stone Mecca, y'all. Peace.